Now, the Ghana Medical Association currently is threatening an industrial strike action beginning July if its members' conditions of service are not negotiated and signed by June ending. They have threatened this for the last couple of months. In that, well, their service conditions have not been met. They needed some negotiation as far as their emoluments are concerned. And they believe that as far as they are concerned, they don't have adequate allowances for the type of risk they take in their work. Now, well, the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations said, well, that was under wraps and the discussions were ongoing. But just yesterday on Sunday, they convened a press conference and they again gave the warning that by beginning July, they went back on that very action. So we'll see how that goes and whether government is really committed. We know that this also follows a number of actions so far. And so what do you make of this? Strike action. And we know that we've been speaking about the MPP and things, but we have strike action, issues of corruption being complained about by former President Rawlings and all.
The strike actions have been going on for quite some time because the people of Ghana are not happy with the various conditions that we live in. Standard of living has definitely fallen. And the fact that various statutory payments are not being met and various conditions that make the workers, that's the human resource of this country, are not being met. And so it's not only the doctors, the teachers, the drivers, market women in Kumasi were crying yesterday, students about allowances, actresses. It is ongoing and it is unacceptable. You see, the government of the day is to look at the welfare of the people. And so when the needs of the people are not being met, then it comes out as demonstrations, as strikes, and what have you. And so it is important that arbitration becomes more meaningful than just talk, just like you talked about the prayer. It must be effective. The resources of Ghana are not being properly channeled. The distribution is not fair. And so, time and time again, officers that are supposed to look at our health are forced to take this stance because government has not to date been able to meet them in terms of arbitration. For how long is this going to go on? It is time that we stop the politicking about these things and really go to the core of it, that the conditions of service of all workers, that is the human resource of a nation. You cannot transform Ghana when the health conditions of the people are not well. And even the medical staff themselves are complaining. It is the productivity that is being attacked. How we are going to be more productive. If the doctors and nurses go on strike, how many more people are going to lose lives? If the national health insurance is not working, how many more people are going to be unproductive? These are the core issues of any government. And the Better Ghana agenda must address this and stop the politicking and making statements that don't cool hearts. So I will plead with the various bodies to sit with the Medical Association immediately and have a sustainable, not an ad hoc process, but a sustainable process that will mediate and finalize on the conditions of service of all our workers, and that all statutory payments must be met and paid so that we have a country that is fulfilling the dream of our ancestors. It is not only about seeking the political kingdom. You must seek the economic kingdom. And for the economic kingdom's dream to be fulfilled, the health sector must be well. And that is what is being expressed. The government and all those involved must come in. The TUC, everybody. And the government must look at the various sectors and ensure that if pensions, there is a problem with pensions, everything to do with our human resource is under siege. That is what I want the government to understand. You cannot transform Ghana with a system that does not look at the welfare of the worker.
Haja Hamdatu, I'll let you come in though, but apparently we're being told by our correspondent with station in the rest of Accra and Tema that a team of police and military personnel have managed to restore calm at Ashaiman, where the drivers currently are protesting the DVLA seatbelt directive, but also the issue about what the criteria should be as to who has qualified to be holding a license and for roadworthy certificates to be issued. Matilda Abemega is on the line. What's the level of security presence there?
I would say that due to the reinforcement at the station now, a little calm has been restored. The police and then the military have been speaking with the executives of the drivers' union, who are trying to convince these drivers to if they are going on strike or they are demonstrating, they should have a way of doing it. The executives are saying that they are not aware of this demonstration this morning, so they are being in talks with the drivers to let them calm down for the peace to restore restored back here in Ashaiman. But when you come to the Metromas station, most of these passengers who were stranded at the main station have all moved to the Metromas station, where they are trying to take the buses to some parts of the capital. But here too, some of these drivers from the main station have moved to the Metromas station and they blocked the main entrance. So a bus here now where passengers are stranded, it can't move out of the station because the drivers from the main station are trying to stop these drivers from the Metromas from loading the passengers, because they are saying that, yes, this Metromas do not have their seatbelts. Why should they be allowed to use the road? So there's a little bit of confusion here too. But a moment ago, the military came here to speak to some of these passengers to assure them of the plans that they have to restore peace here. So a little calm has been restored in this area.
Well, Matilda, you make it seem as if the situation was very much chaotic. But what I also get to feel out of all this very situation, the fact that the drivers didn't give any notice that they will be protesting or picketing. Is that the case?
Yes.
All right. Please be on the beat for us. We'll be back with you. Matilda Abemega, correspondent in Ashaiman. We also have a number of reporters in Tema as well as areas in Dansuma and Accra. We'll try to get a lot more insight into why they're protesting and whether they'll continue all these protestations later in the day. And Haja Hamdatu, please, your take on what she was saying and the concern that the doctors have expressed so far.
Yes, before I walked into the studio, I had a call from Akutia.
Akutia?
Yes, a lady complaining that she is a nurse. There are two, one a teacher, that for the past 1 year, that's 12 months, they've not been paid. They were only given 3 months.
Are they new entrants? They've been admitted to a health service for the last 2 years,
yes,
I believe.
Yes, and then they've not been paid. So she was asking me, what can we do to help them? And I said, what we can do is just to talk about it. Because the authorities who are supposed to make sure people are comfortable at their workplaces are sitting or sleeping on their jobs. If not, the Medical Association, I'm sure for the past 2 years, they've been engaging government on their condition of service. And then it has come to a point that from July 1st, if their grievances are
they're even
met,
prepared to resign.
they should be considered unemployed, which means they are not going to work. And you know, there was a threat from one of the government communicators that if they want, they can stop the job. Well, fine, some people can airlift themselves to another country for treatment, but majority of us Ghanaians cannot afford. So what can be done? I'm sure the appropriate authorities, I'm sure Ministry for Labor Relations, and then I think the Ghana Health Service and Ghana Medical Association must come together and see how best this matter can be resolved. Because if the doctors are on strike, as Otiko said, how many people are going to lose their lives? People don't know. Doctors are working under serious conditions, using torchlights, lanterns to operate on patients. So which means they are working under some difficult conditions. Some people will say that, is it only doctors who are in this country? No. As Otiko said, there are so many people who are not happy with their condition of service. So if they see to the doctors today, what happens to the nurses tomorrow, or teachers, and so on? And it must be some kind of holistic approach. Don't just pick and choose, because these people go on strike, then you run and go and solve their problem. Then the next day, another section is going on strike. So I think we must sit down as a nation and look at what is wrong with us, because I think there is something seriously wrong with this country. Because people don't think unless they are pushed to the corner before they start thinking. People are sleeping on their jobs. People are not working. When CPP said Ghana must work again, and people were wondering why is CPP saying Ghana must work again? Is it that people are not working? This is an example of people not working. Because if people were to be working and listening to the grievances of workers in this country, because that's the human resources, that is the people who keep the nation moving. So if they are not happy, especially doctors, nurses, teachers, then what kind of a nation are we running?
Proactiveness is needed. Do you think that we've gotten that so far? You've seen the signs, and we're likely going to get this in the regard of the medical doctors.
Yeah, where there is no fairness, where there is no transparency, where there is no proper accountability, the people will rise, because it is the mandate of the people that gives you the authority to come and govern them. And when the people are aggrieved, then it is a warning signal for you to set up and do the right thing by them. The corruption levels are unprecedented.
You mean perceived corruption levels?
It is not perceived, it is indeed. We have seen it. When you look at the JIDA, the SADA, the SABA, and all those things, those are indeed acts of corruption. The National Service Secretariat across the country, corruption levels are unprecedented. 4 billion spent in the last election, in the last quarter at the presidency. That is part of the reason why we are where we are. You cannot take what does not belong to you, and the inability to put it back creates a big hole, a vacuum in our coffers. And so it is now manifesting out that we are not able to meet our commitments to the people. And so we have had to go for an IMF bailout, which is also at the moment that we are going to add more difficulties on us. And so the government must sensitize people, must sit with people and watch the words that they use that would make people encouraged.
Persuasion and communication is important.
It's very, very
to convince.
To convince.
And say
people.
that I'm with you. But
exactly.
Because of these difficulties.
Exactly. And to not to take the stance that if you cannot do it, then forget it.
On page.
Yes. And that Untiobia statements, or that we join funu and things like that, they don't help. Or go and ride a bicycle if you cannot buy fuel. Those are comments that government and government officials and spokespeople must apologize to the people of Ghana from. You see, when you say that you are the government of the day, you are the father of everybody. And all the children will come to the father. And when they come, you must listen to them. Where you cannot help, you must tell them things that will console them. But it appears that this is not how the government wants to operate. And so then the children begin to protest like this. So I would want to plead, because I was married to a doctor, and I know the conditions, that they are terrible. Even today, when a doctor is not well, the system does not give him any allowance. You have to pay or use the national health, and the national health is not working. I've been around the country in rural areas, and I see people from the National Health Service coming to record and get more people on. And the claim is that we have 2 million people on national health. We have 10 million. You can have 100 million people on the national health insurance scheme, but if they're not getting quality health, what is the point? If I am ill and I go to the hospital with a hernia and you give me paracetamol, you've done nothing. Pregnant women don't have that facility, and that is a problem for me, a person who speaks for voiceless women. Across the country I went, and I realized that in the markets that I visited, I saw people trying to get more people onto the national health insurance scheme.
But it's better than not being on the service at all.
If you are on it and you're not getting the benefits, yes, there's no point in going to the hospital if you're not going to get the medicine. The services, the bill for the national health insurance, the service providers must be paid. If you can take 4.5 billion to million to Brazil, why can't you pay the national health insurance bill? If you can pay 51.2 million for judgment debt, why can't you pay the national health? So the doctors, they must pay their service conditions and restore the energy crisis so that they don't have to work under those despicable conditions. How do you use a torchlight in this modern age to provide delivery or healthcare to it.
Okay, we have to wrap up on this, and you're going to have the last word on it. The whole point that she's making is about priority. Trying to say this is important and that is important, so you need to make sure.
Yes, absolutely. You know,
this is the top of the list.
Most of the people look at politicians and then judge us according to the way we behave.
How do they judge you?
If you're telling an ordinary person to tighten his or her belt, and maybe we just completed the same school, we were in a public service, before you realize you've been appointed to be a spokesperson or this, and then, Jack, your life has changed.
I get your point.
Now, if you tell me to tighten my belt, if politicians will show modesty, they will be modest in whatever they are doing, ordinary people in this country will understand us. But if we don't, if you count the number of Land Cruisers, Pajaros that we ride in this country, in general.
Well, they're government officials. They can ride Pajaros.
Not even the government officials. You know, somebody was saying
even
that...
there are party people who are riding Pajaros. We are private people.
I'm coming to that point. The consumption of fuel is so high. So why is it that even town riding, we use those big cars? Why? But the private man, if he's using his Land Cruiser, he's buying his fuel. He's not drawing it from the government coffers.
He's not riding a bicycle.
He's not. So if he's anything,
so we need to have adequate public transportation system, just like we have in the UK and the rest.
That is it. Because even the other day I saw Cameron in a public transport reading his papers, trying to catch up, which is in a train. You see, it is. But in Ghana, if one minister is moving, you see the convoy of cars that follows. It doesn't make sense as Africans. It's in the whole continent. What can we do? We can even reduce costs in such a way that we don't even have to go for loans that maybe comes with so many conditionalities. The money is here.
Well, thank you very much, and ladies, I've enjoyed your talk, and I hope to have you again, the pair, in the studio, if you have the time, though. And we've had in the studio the National Women's Organizer of the MPP, Otiko Afisa Jaba. Privileged to have you. She's in black, but of course, party black.
We are mourning.
Okay, they're mourning, but also undertaking a period of prayer and fasting for the party.
We are with you in prayers.
And the issue of Ghana's political landscape. And also, Hajia Hamdatu Haruna is a CPP National Women's Organizer. Privileged to have you, ma'am. Okay, so that's it for the AM Talk, as well as the show, AM Show this morning. Always make sure you get interactive on Facebook, join us on TV, and also on Twitter, join us on TV. That's it. We'll meet same time tomorrow. Bye-bye.